Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for the hydrate. Smooth in a second here. Song is crazy. All right, I'm changing the radio. That was, yeah, here we go. Something a little more chill. All right, it's Friday. Happy Friday. Oh, I forgot to go live notification. Let me do that. Happy Feast of Friday. All right. I feel like this is too chill. I need some kind of in between. Let's try this. All right. Go live notification has been sent. You had to turn it up. That was cool. Oh, some of the world music I was playing. Like the Golf Today A. That was cool. Yeah, that stuff was cool. That was the world station on Pretzel Rocks. I'll probably play that more. That seems like some cool intro and outro music. Kind of interesting. All right, let's get going today. I don't really know what we're doing today. A lot to talk over. Yeah, exactly. But it's good intro and outro music. I was listening to someone stream yesterday who had no music playing, and so I was just sitting in silence with them, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I'm playing music again. I know it's like a mixed bag, but I like packaging the vibe a little bit more. Just setting up a little bit more what we're going for here. All right, so what did we do yesterday? Yesterday we talked about our new roadmap, and we made some little changes to projection. So when we're mousing around, if I go down a level and then I go back up a level, I can kind of see the level differences a little bit, which I think is helpful. So we can go down a third level. The color changes aren't working correctly. So you can kind of see that the white dotted lines get more faded as they're projected farther down, which I do like. That is how that should work. But the problem is it's based off of 0. It's based off of level 0. So if I actually go down to this level, the outlines don't change color. So something is not being communicated correctly. And then here's another problem. If we go far enough, they just become invisible. Or is that not true anymore? Let's try to confirm that that's true, because I thought that was true, but maybe that's not true. Here we go. So here's immediate, next level down, level after that, level after that. Oh yeah, see this level down at the bottom here, you can't see it at all. It's too far. So we need to not do that. This is helping me figure out where we are to an extent. This is unfortunate the way this works if there's nothing here. I need to hide that. I actually need to just straight up hide this. If you're placing a thing. I don't know. Let's work on this. Let's work on controlling the light levels of this a little bit. All right. So the problem as I see it is that the modulation is based on this level index. And I feel like this is not changing. So who is calling this pan viewer up or down? It should be the board. Camera 2D, pan viewer up or down, viewer pan viewer up or down, new level. Okay, so we're sending different things to the camera than we are to these. Is that right? All right, viewer pan. So view level up or down. So where do we call this? We call this, I know where we call this. Call this from here. This cross-domain thing, I don't love. I don't love calling into GDScript from C# and vice versa. It's a little hard to manage. But yeah, I think we're just going to keep working on some of the more trivial stuff here with the editor tool stuff today. I don't know if I have the appetite to go into something more. Here we go. Level up or down. Integer direction. So the direction, so all we're sending is +1 or -1, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so level -1 or +1. Okay, so view level up or down. So we're getting -1 or +1, and then we're calculating a new level based on that. And we're passing the actual level through. To these. Editor level, elastic level, select level, static level. Oh, we're not actually... I see the problem. Oh, we don't actually define this hover levels thing, do we? Here. I need to come up with a better way of handling these grid levels. I wrote these very shoddily. I'm kind of paying for it a little bit. Smooth in a Second says, you had a thought last night? Have I thought about this system working with PG up, page up and page down? We could do that. We could do page up and page down. Right now it's tied to the scroll wheel. But I don't mind setting it up with page up and page down. Because it's actually going to be set up, the joystick equivalent controls, I think, are going to be probably D-pad up and D-pad down, maybe? Or maybe RB, LB? So we should set up keys for it. Because the keys are more closely reflective of how the joystick version is going to work. Because basically we have left joystick for camera movement and right joystick for cursor movement. So cursor, camera, those are the joysticks. But then we need rotate and up, down. Actually, I might put those on the D-pad, because then we can have left, right to be rotate the camera to the next 90-degree angle, to like the next corner, and then we can have up, down be like swap levels. So I might actually put it on the D-pad now that I'm thinking about it. I've got like a joystick in my hand and I'm just trying some stuff out, and I feel comfortable with that. D-pad is what you'd probably try first without looking at controls. Yeah, I think that's about right. Then we can do other things with like LBRB. LBRB could be like next character, previous character, or something like that. So you could quickly like tab through your characters. Or your control groups or whatever. I don't know. And then LTRT will probably be LTRT will probably be like left or right click. Maybe A and B will also be left click and right click. I don't know. It'll all be customizable, so it's not like the end of the world, but... Alright, so we've got this hover levels thing. Do I actually need to do anything with this other than do this? I don't think so. Hover levels dot pan viewer up or down to the level. Honestly, I should send this to the parent levels node, and then the parent can just go through its children and call this instead of having to maintain this here. Maintaining this here is like kind of stupid. But that should fix this one problem. All right, so now if we do this and we go down a level, it should stay. Yes, it does. Beautiful. So now the brightness level is actually relative to the level that we currently are on. It's not based off of level 0. So here it's getting lighter until it just disappears, which we need to work on that. Here it's getting lighter. And then if we go down a few levels, it restarts. Since we support 8 levels, I want to widen the color change. Because right now it's going invisible basically after 1, 2, 3, 4. It's invisible after 4. I want to make it invisible after 8. So let's adjust that calculation. Failed to load object door.gd. That's probably old. It's probably an old file. Cannot find base class hull. All right, so let's go into not the hull levels. We want to go into the tile levels, and we want to look at their modulate. No, not the tile levels. We want to look at here we go, modulate levels. We don't actually use the modulate here. All right, so modulate. So right now our modulate is 1 minus the relative distance times 2. So what if I just say 1 minus the relative distance? Where do I get level count from? Level count. Child and get children. Okay, interesting. Let's see, that should have done it. So let's see if that widens the number of levels that we can look across. This little thing. So I do this, I go down a level, do that, go down a level, do that. I'm just gonna try to go down as many levels as I can here. Probably should have started further back. I'm probably gonna run out of space. Oh no, I might be able to do it. No, I'm gonna start over. All right. So we'll start with this, and then we'll just start going down. We'll just create a tier of 8. We keep going. Are we at 8 yet? Okay, that was 8. All right, so let's see what happens. So this should start to go. Okay, so here we go. This starts casting down and it starts changing color. It gets lighter and lighter the further we go. Okay, you can still see it 8 layers away, but it's really faint. I like that. I think that's what we want. I think that's a subtle but important hint to tell you where you are height-wise. And also across, because this has been a thing that I've had problems with, where I'm like building out rooms and I want to make sure that my room is in the same XY position, even though it's a Z level up or down. And it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, but this should help because now I can tell if I want some things to line up across Z indexes, I can actually see where we are relative to the lower Z indexes. I think this is good. I think this achieves our goal. I need to figure out what happens when you're off the grid. Like I need to stop drawing this when you're off the grid for one thing. And I need to not draw it in this sort of situation where you're not over anything else. And I think we need some other way of telling kind of where we are in that sense. Maybe not. I also need to deal with this one. This one that's just staying here. This is the selection box. So if I move the selection box, it'll... Maybe we want the selection box to do the same thing. Like if I make a selection up here, I don't know, maybe not. Because if I make a selection up here and then I start scrolling down, it'll actually replicate itself across all of these layers. So if I've selected this whole volume, this is what I see. And this is actually maybe kind of confusing. Maybe it would be better to render it with vertical lines in just the top and the bottom. This is kind of disorienting seeing this. And if I copy this, then we get this whole thing. Oh. Why did it only get these? Why didn't we copy all the whole thing over? There's still some weird stuff with copy paste that we need to work out. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't totally figured out how to show that you've selected a volume, like a 3-dimensional volume. It's kind of hard to do when all you have are separate 2D tile map layers. Kind of tough. We can figure it out, but we would need to change the way we're drawing it. And at the moment, I don't want to. More so than supporting copy and cut, I want to support more click and drag. I want to support that movement because that feels more naturally what I'm going to do. But that will still have the problem of it's hard to tell when you've selected a 3-dimensional space, a 3-dimensional volume, and you're trying to move it around. So what do we need to do? We need to worry about, I described what we needed to do. There's 2 cases we need to work on right now. Within a second. You looked over when I said that, and yeah. Okay, so you agree. It's confusing. Will one grab that much stuff constructively in game? Can you have a slight, like 3% opacity cube around the selected areas that moves with it when you move what you've grabbed? Yeah, I think that's what I would do, is something like that. It's tricky because it's all tile maps, but we can do it. Hard-coded. You believe in me. Thank you. Thank you for the tier 1. Really appreciate that. How's it going? I can do it. Wow. All this support. Okay, so the 2 cases I want to deal with is this. I don't want to see this dotted outline if I'm just doing this, if I'm just hovering around. That should be easy. I also don't want to see it when we move outside the buildable area. which works correctly when we go this way. When we go out to 0, it seems to be working. But when we go this way, when we go positively, it continues indefinitely, and that is not good. So we need to work on that. So let's start with this first case of not drawing it like this. It's going. You just finished rewriting your whole story and redoing all the art. Rest of today is playtesting story. Wow, that is a lot. You shared my door animations with your co-dev as an example of beautiful isometric animation in Godot. Oh, you're too kind. Too kind. Our beautiful door. Yeah, we put a lot of effort into these. A+. Well, thank you. That's the triple door. To get that into the engine, we're going to need to... Right now, we're just plugging those in as tile map proxies, where like they're just textures on the tile set, and then at runtime, we need to swap the textures with actual nodes. Well, I'm excited for your game, Hardcoder. That sounds exciting. That sounds cool. Rewrote the whole story and redid all the art. That's wild. All right, so what am I doing? What am I doing? Oh yeah, we're working on overriding the outline in certain cases. So here, what I'm doing, we're saying game.input.projection is this. If hidden blocks.try get value. So if we can get a block out. So if a block is hidden here. Huh. How does this hidden blocks try get value input out block value? If value is empty. For Z. Oh, this is for the specific value the cursor is actually at. Right. Okay. Okay, so this is always true. So this is always true. If the value is empty. Want to do this. This does not feel reflective of the behavior I'm seeing. So if I draw this and I get this, this should not be... Huh. This is weird. We're getting the correct behavior, but from reading the code, this isn't the behavior we should be getting. So that needs to be addressed. Task failed successfully? Yeah, kinda. You know what's a problem that I realize is a problem? Our cursor is rendering based on the native resolution of the monitor. So on like Steam Deck, this cursor is going to be huge. I think I actually need to switch from using the built-in cursor to rendering like a sprite that represents the cursor so that I can lock it to the resolution of the viewport. Because I feel like the cursor is not locked to the resolution of the viewport. I think it's more locked to the display resolution. Because the viewport here is only 360 pixels tall. It's 640 by 360, I think. All right, let's try to understand this. So the lines, I do want the lines to appear here, but they shouldn't be right now. So why is that? So if value is empty, this is weird. This should not return as true. Let's just do this easily. Let's just test this. Okay, and then if I draw here, form deck face 0 part 0. Form deck. Oh. I need to check my isEmpty function. Because this part's behaving, the data I'm getting is correct. The evaluation is not working correctly. So when we say isEmpty, are we doing like a bit flag comparison against an empty byte? Because that would not work. No, is form equivalent to empty.form? I don't think that's gonna work. Public static block empty is new form forms.empty. Empty is 0. All forms. Do we not use this anywhere? You'd think I would. Question is, where is this script? Is this a component? I don't think it is. It's not a component. Is it a buffer? No, it's neither. Where's this file? I don't know where this file is. That's fine. Who needs to know such things? Not me. So has won't work with empty. Has any also won't work. Okay, we do use all forms. These are right here. Okay, good. So the thing is, if you can't do a bitwise comparison between an empty byte and anything else, because it's gonna AND it. It'll say like, here's like a bit field. If it has any ones and you AND it with something that's all zeros, it'll just always be all zeros. So, oh, and then here we have the isEmpty function again. Do I have this defined in 2 different places? No, it's only here. So isEmpty is form evaluates to empty.form. This should work. A logical comparison should work. This should be false. Let's check if that's true. Because if that's not true, we have some problems. we're going to say debug dot write line. We're going to say well, we know value is true, so we're just going to say value. I don't want to do that here. I love this embedded game window. It's making it easy to check these write line things. All right. Okay. So that actually is being evaluated correctly. So how is this constantly being... Oh. I don't know. This is perplexing. So we're not actually doing this here. So where is this happening? Where are we doing this? Where are we updating this AABB? If not here. Did I leave the code in somewhere else and we're doing it twice? I would not put that past myself. That's something I would do. Game.input.projection. It sounds like we're updating the projection no matter what. Is that true? Oh, yeah. We're updating the projection no matter what. Cool. Cool. So what we need, though, is we need something else. We need like an out of bounds check. I'm going to just put that here. I'm just going to put a public bool. Doing this with like global state is like really disgusting. But it's basically a singleton, so I'm going to allow it. But know that I am unhappy with what I'm doing here. So what we need to do is we need to define whether we're in or out of bounds. Where do I do that? So clipboard empty, else. If it encloses, we have an enclosure check here. Should we just do this at the top? Where we do this? And then should we just move this up here? Should we like do this up here and then say if game, well, we could say if coords, hold on, just do this. If coord, well, we want to say if buffer dot contains coords. We can actually do this on a single line. If buffer contains coords, we're going to say game dot input dot out of bounds equals. Actually, we want to do this as a ternary. Game dot input dot out of bounds equals buffer dot contains coords. If it does contain, we want it to be, oh yeah, that was right, false, true. Why are you upset? Oh, we don't actually need the ternary, we just have it be this. We can just flip it. So if it doesn't contain, this will be true. I know I could check inbounds, but I like out of bounds better. Okay, and then so what we're gonna do here, so this actually is gonna solve one problem, but not the problem where we are immediately thinking about. You know, instead of tracking out of bounds, we could probably say something like hide outline, because that's what I want. That's what the behavior that I actually want. But here we're going to say if game.input.is out of bounds. Oh man, we're getting towards refactor territory soon. This is getting messy in a lot of places, and I'm unhappy with it. But I don't have time. Did I get rid of that debug right line? I did. In which case I can just do it like this. So this should eliminate the out of bounds outline. Okay, so it doesn't exactly eliminate it. It just stops it from moving at a certain point. That's not what I want. I want it to actually hide it. Oh. This is worse. This is worse than I could have imagined. Okay, let's put a pin in that. Let's deal with this one. We're running into an issue where we need this information at the rendering step. Accidentally opened that. Okay, so we need some stuff. We need to know something at the rendering step that we are figuring out in the simulation step. And that information needs to cross back over. I think I can think of a way to do that. Can I actually read game.input.outofbounds in GDScript? When I'm here, can I actually do this? Like down here. Actually here? Here? What about here? So unpack tile map data. Who calls this? Oh, I know who calls this. This is kind of rough. Okay, I think I can see a way to do this. It feels like a hack, but it might work. Oh god, we're going through a list. I need to treat this differently. Right now I'm just treating these all the same. I'm just going through a list of nodes that are tile maps. Tiles.targetNode. I'm just going through the list and calling things. And that's good, sort of. What I really want to do is send them back empty data. This is more complicated than I want it to be, or than I think is like worth dealing with at the moment. So maybe we put a pin in this, because all we're really trying to do is prevent this from happening, so that when I'm mousing around, you just have this dotted line around your cursor. And I want it to show up here when you like can't see the thing you're creating, or like here, I think is reasonable. But I don't want it to show up like this. But you know what? I don't think I care enough. I think it's fine. What does annoy me is this out of bounds thing, where it kind of gets stuck showing the last place you were at. I don't love that. What if I defaulted to like, here, what if we tried this? What if I passed it in an actual out of bounds coordinate in that case? Hey, Rhiannon Journey, how's it going? How are you today? Song is a banger. Doing pretty good. How about me? I'm all right. I think we're gonna do our stream today here. We're gonna keep working on our little tile map editor tool. I think I'm gonna take tomorrow off because I'm just looking at my calendar, which is like this weekend. There's this weekend, which I don't technically have anything on the calendar for. But I'm looking like 2 weeks ahead and 2 weeks back. And like, I basically had events from the 15th to the 22nd. And then I went back to work on the 23rd. And I've been working every day since then. So tomorrow and Sunday are like my only days off. And I think I'm going to do my taxes. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I probably won't stream tomorrow. Probably skip. But next week is super exciting. Next week we'll have our normal schedule, and then it's Ludum Dare from the 4th through the 6th for us. It's technically the 4th through the 7th, but we compo. We do the compo, so we only have 48 hours, not 72, like the jammers. So yeah, it's gonna be that. So I'm just looking at how busy next week is, and then I've got some an out of town trip the weekend after that. So I'm just packed in, and I'm like, when am I going to do my taxes? And I think it's going to be tomorrow. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's my idea of a Saturday. It's going to be fun. I need some time off before LD. That's what I'm saying. I need some time off, but I don't think I'm going to get any time off because of these other things that I need to do, like taxes. So I need to go over my finances from last year and get all that set up. One of these days I'm going to get an accountant, but it hasn't happened yet. I actually need to talk to some people about that, about finding a relatively local accountant who's familiar with like the game dev industry and stuff. I know some people to talk to about it. I just haven't wanted to do that. But I'm making money. I'm making money. People are subbing. They're donating on the Ko-Fi. I need to start thinking about that stuff. I told myself I was going to wait until I started making money to get like a real accountant, but you know, I think we're getting there. It's that's one of those people that you want to have in place before you need them. You don't want to wait until you need an accountant to get an accountant, because if you wait until you need an accountant to get an accountant, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have a bad experience. That's the kind of person, yeah, you really do want in place early. Sort problems out before they become problems. All right, so what we're doing is we're going to consider passing in an invalid coordinate. Can I pass in a bunk coordinate here as well? Let's just start with the projection. We're going to say if not, well, we'll say if buffer.contains coords. All right, we're going to attempt to pass an invalid coordinate in and see what happens. This might not work. This might cause a horrible problem, but I'm curious to see if this is a legitimate way to stop this from happening. Okay. So this is interesting. So in fact, nothing is working here. Did we suffer an error? No, we suffered no error. If buffer contains... Oh. Not buffer contains. Oh, I just did this backwards. This is on me. That's on me. I don't know how much Ludum Dare preparation we're going to do, to be honest. Okay, so this didn't help at all. And I understand why it didn't help at all. It's because the tile map's not being updated. You know what I feel like we need to do soon is we need to change the background color from blue to like black. Or we need to do something because I feel like showing a blue background is like very misleading because the ships that we're building are going to be against a dark backdrop. And I feel like I need that to like force me to confront our outline system, because I feel like in the long run our outline system is not going to work. Like here we're utilizing outlines around for certain things but not others. Like we're only using outlines for like doors and walls and stuff, and nothing else is outlined. So I think we're going to switch to a no outline art style. I like the outline, to be clear. I just think especially against the backdrop of space, the outline is not going to be good. The outline is going to be unhelpful. I actually did some tests in Sprite to that effect. Like here. I made the outline here slightly lighter than the blackness of space, and it's okay. And it helps with an interior shot to have the outline. I don't know. I need to consider that stuff. It's a good point. Yeah, I think it is. And I think I'm leaning on the outline right now because we're using flat textures for everything. I think once we have a little more texture in it, like once we have more detail, I think it will make more sense to not be using the outlines. This is like a recolor I did of this classic scene using my expanded palette. And I took the opportunity to like try a couple different things out. And I think it's good. It's easier to look, it is easier to see the crew. I think I do a little bit better job foregrounding. If you look at the contrast difference between this and this. I do a better job of darkening things like the floor and foregrounding the crew. I think we need to think more about that kind of stuff. I tried some different stuff out too. This one's hilarious but terrible. This one like burns my eyes. But I've been trying a few different ones. I kind of like this one. But I think this is the strongest one. All right, so let's undo this, what I just did here. All we're gonna do is this. The brown orange is very Klingon to you. Yeah, I was doing something weird. This isn't my palette. This is the Hot Highlights Cold Shadows palette. And I kind of like it in some ways. I think we are going to try to see this kind of variety as far as like seeing different ships with different colors. I think we do want to see this kind of stuff in the game. Like, it's not bad. I actually did a couple things here that I like. Like, I extended the this thing with the headrest so that it was behind their heads more. Yeah, I'm excited to try some different things out. We're taking a very additive approach to our palette. We're just going to keep adding ramps. Anytime we want a new ramp, we're just going to add it. And we use indexed art pieces, so there's no compatibility issues with that. You can just keep adding ramps. And as long as you don't move them around, you can add ramps and you can also refine the ramps that you have. So we have nine shade ramps. Like, there are 9 shades in our ramps between... There are 9 steps between black and white for all of these. And some of them need a little more work. Like, I'm not super pleased with my new ones, but we can keep adjusting. Should be fine in the long run. We'll have to redraw our doors if we take the outlines away. I'm not looking forward to that. But yeah, I want to try some more no outline art. But that's going to force me to do a lot more stuff with shading to give you more of a sense of things. Like, the outline gives you a lot of stuff for free. But I do think that in space, outlines are questionable. Unless I go out of my way to make every background like a nebula or something like that, or a planet. Like, if I make the background light enough or busy enough that you can tell the outlines, like, you can see them, but I don't think I'm actually going to be doing that. I'm having a problem with my YouTube control panel, so I'm like watching my own stream in YouTube, and it is on such a delay. It's on at least a 10-second delay, maybe closer to 20 seconds. Yeah, it's like a 20-second delay between what I'm doing here and YouTube. That's funny. But yeah, if anyone's in YouTube and they want to shout out, I want to see if chat's working. Rhiannon, you're saying everyone making content needs to also realize they need to make a light background for their scenarios. Oh, that's a good point. Oh, thank you, Smooth in a second. Okay, I can close the YouTube window because I can actually see that in OBS. Thank you. Thank you for confirming. Yeah, that's a really good point, Rhiannon Journey. That's the kind of implicit state that I like don't want to include and stuff. That's the kind of implicit state that makes me nervous when you like make these rules and constraints, but you don't actually document them anywhere. They're not like explicitly listed anywhere. And yeah, that's a really great point. You don't want to presume that people are going to do that. So yeah, I think we're going to switch to a no outline art style. Maybe we'll prototype a little of that because I actually don't know what to work on right now. I'm actually not sure what I want to do right now. Like, I'm pretty happy with this thing that we got working here as far as like the projection of the hover. I don't really know what I want to work on next right now. I think this is good enough for now for this thing. It's not great when you're like hovering out here and you can't, it's just all the way down. But I think this helps make it clear that you're like on this layer. I could widen this so that it's like more than one block, but I don't want to do that right now. I'll do that when the when we've set it up so that you can actually have more than one block be the tool. Because right now our block tool just supports a single block. Like you can't place more than one block at a time. But when we switch to a position where you can like save bits to a palette, like where you could save like, you could take like a closet or something, like take a small room and like save it to the palette so you can just plant that room down. That might be what I end up doing more than copy paste. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what to work on for the rest of the stream here. We could mock up some no outline art. We could take a look at that, what that would look like. Because there are some considerations we need to make for that. We need to deal with the fact that vertical borders are shared, but or horizontal borders are shared, but vertical borders are not. We need to deal with that. And I can kind of explain what that means. So like, we just make a new piece here. What the hell is this? This is my default. I don't know what default palette I've got here, but this is my default, I guess. So with our current outline system, you basically, oh, I think I actually have a better example of this already. Exploration. I think I can give the example with this. So here we have some shapes. So if you look here, here's some cubes. So you'll notice that like these lighter shades here, like this lighter shade of green and this lighter shade of orange, these are the borders between these two faces, between the faces on the side. And these borders aren't shared. So like we have a border here for orange and we have a border here for green. But when you look at the top, when you look at blue, there's no lighter green up here. It just goes to light blue. And here I made it even more explicit by making it like a different color. I used like pink and like light blue. So like these horizontal lines that divide two different faces, these lines are shared. They're shared between the pieces, which is a little tricky when you think about it. And so having an outline was like helpful because it kind of covered up the fact that these lines are shared. Whereas if I get rid of the outline, I have to pick one of these faces that overrides the other. Like I have to just pick a face. Man, this is a banger too, this track. And I haven't decided what I want to do about this yet. This is how I eventually want to paint these. I want to paint these using normals. Like I want to paint them almost as if they're normals. They're not really, these aren't normals. This is like a way of drawing a 3D object and explaining where the 2D faces are. So I kind of want to have that be the thing, and then we can swap out whatever texture if we want. This is kind of the way I'm thinking of how do you draw a 3D object and then break it up into its 2D pieces? Like breaking it up into like these individual pieces. So I've been experimenting with some different ways of doing that. So it's a little weird. Like, who owns these? I'm gonna copy these down and we'll draw these without outlines. And we'll see how we feel. Oh, I need to do this piece by piece. I can't do it all at once. Start with this. Oh God. Zooming in, too much zoom. All right, so that's one. Let's start with this. So if we were to do a no outline version of this, it would be like, this. Oops. Yeah, it definitely doesn't look as good when we're working with flat art. What's the size of this? So this is 16 by 28. Okay. It also doesn't look great against the background. Let me turn the background on. There we go. So when we look at this, this is what we're going to be seeing then. So this is going to be very dependent on lighting. And we'll actually need to do some lighting because without the outline, you can't actually tell that this is like two flat surfaces. We almost need a shade between these two, which we don't have. What if we made this a little lighter? And then we used like this here. So something like this. This is intelligible. You can tell this. But it doesn't work otherwise. Let's go with that for a moment. I do like this. It feels cleaner. It's definitely going to be more dependent on our ability to light things. Which is rough because I was planning on like statically lighting everything because I don't think the Godot lighting system is going to be able to handle this tiered isometric 2D thing. I think that's going to be real tough to expect Godot to be able to handle correctly. So how do we handle this sort of thing is the question. So I said this belongs to this side, okay? Luckily I've made some of this determination here. You can kind of tell because of where I put the orange outlines. Actually, that's what we should be coloring these things, huh? Should be doing this. We should be using there aren't normals, but they're like, this is like a color system to describe which faces belong where. I can actually probably turn the, I don't like the, I want to use a lighter color or a darker color here. I think this looks okay. I don't think I like looking at that with the background. All right, so let's redo this like this. Actually, let's use this system I have here. Why did I have this? Was it so I could understand where the stitching was occurring? We're thinking about how to encode this in a way that we can understand the stitching information. So what if I just... So why did I pick this over this? This lets us describe the in-between. Same here. So this is specified as the boundary between these two faces. This is specified as the boundary between these two faces. I think doing it like this is good. There is a problem down here. There is a problem with the corners. It is essentially the where things start to break down. And I think I can explain why. I actually don't know where that file is. Matthew Sparks, happy Friday. How's it going? Hey, Matthew. It's good. It's good. We're closing out the week. We've been working like crazy. We're looking at removing the outlines from our art because we're questioning how well the outlines are going to read against the blackness of space. So we're looking at kind of removing that. And we're also looking at how to describe our shapes in 3D and still be able to separate the 2D faces out. So we're coming up with like an almost normal-like description, like the way you would use normals to describe like the angles. I mean, we could actually frankly just use normals for this purpose, but like normal mapping. But I'm also trying to describe the boundaries, the edges. I think something like this is fine for now. But I might switch to a more detailed coloration like this that lets us describe more state. There's just a problem with the corners. And I'm having a hard time articulating what the problem is, but it becomes obvious if we look at a file I definitely have. File I definitely have here somewhere. Whole face mapping. Yeah, here we go. So what we have here is a problem with the corners. So if we start connecting these tiles together, we get these boundaries, these shared boundaries. So there are like these corner pieces that matter, these individual corners, and it matters what's there. If we don't have it, this is what happens. You get something like this, a break. Like our current way of drawing the outlines for the hull pieces, you get these weird artifacts. But because these are all the pieces that we use, this is just the pieces we're using. Using the light orange represents an exterior boundary. And so if you only use this to combine shapes, especially shapes that are like 2x2s or these sorts of shapes, these like Tetris shapes, you get these weird artifacts. So like, yeah, combining these together, you get a missing outline. If you fix it by adding additional pieces, actually, I guess this is just one additional piece, huh? So if you fix it by adding these dots, it's a little weird. You need more pieces to describe the thing. But you fix that specific problem by closing the gap. And if you take that to its logical conclusion, you have something like this, where to form a 3x3, which from this center piece's perspective is all you need. You need a ton of different pieces to describe every single overlapping like possibility. So it gets a little messy. I think I should use these colors for what I'm talking about here, because this seems pretty coherent with what we're doing. Yeah, some of these corners, this is where it gets like complicated. Some of these joints where you need the extra piece with the dot to be able to describe those certain combinations to get it to render correctly. So we basically need to create this. But what makes that complicated is when you start talking about these kinds of pieces. These kinds of pieces here. This is where it gets interesting. And I've worked on that. I've been working up how to pack those into something like this. Again, with the outline. Which here the outline is used more as a description of there's a boundary here. But this still gets complicated. Those colors on the right remind you of the Reaper logo for some reason. The free DAW recording software. All this like purple, orange, green, blue thing. Reaper, DAW. Oh yeah, that does kind of make me think of it. I see what you mean. It's similar colors. They use the green, blue, and the orange. Doesn't look like they use the purple very much in the logo, at least. But yeah, I totally get that. That's funny. Also, this isn't a concern you don't think you would have that would have ever crossed your mind when making early design and art decisions. I mean, it definitely wasn't a concern. Like, I did this earlier this year, a few months ago, because you can see the effect of this sometimes. I definitely didn't think about it early on, but you start doing some things here. Actually, let me do it in the other view where I can zoom in. You'll start to do things and you'll start to see holes and you'll be like, why? You'll start to see literal edge cases. Like, let me see if I can make a good example. So like if we make a room and then we start to put a door here, you can kind of see this. You can kind of see it here. It's really hard, but if you look around this door, you see some of the weird stuff that the outlines are doing. It's also even more apparent if I just make a hole here. Like if I just erase these blocks. You see the gaps? You can see the gap in the upper left on this hole here where the outline doesn't close. And little things like that, you'll look into that and you'll be like, why is that missing an outline? And then you end up doing analysis and you end up spotting the difference between no dots versus dots. So if we don't include corner dots on these corner pieces, basically if we don't include the corner dots, you get that? You get this sort of effect where you get broken or kind of weird outlines. And then you can fix that if you include the dots and the corner dots. And that just leads to, and then you just kind of, you start pulling the thread. I don't know anybody. I mean, I think once you have enough experience, you can probably tell what this is going to happen from the start, but I'm definitely not there. For me, it's like you notice something and then you start pulling on that thread and then you regret it immediately. Yeah. But this concern is kind of a little separate from what we've been talking about, which is the problem of outlines against the darkness of space. Like, interior outlines look cool, I think, but that's because that's only because I've been like making sure that they work. But exterior outlines are weak, and I need to move away from them because they're not going to work against the darkness of space. You need your silhouette to just be... But we're thinking about that. We're also thinking about this thing I was talking about a minute before you arrived, which is when I draw out these shapes, all these shapes I'm drawing out, I'm drawing them in 3D because that's how our brain thinks about them. That's how we intuit them. And the thing is, eventually I need to take these 3D shapes and I need to tease out all of these specific 2D pieces that make up them. And I was just thinking of a way. I want to make it easy for people to create new art for this game. So I'm thinking about introducing this kind of layer, which these are almost like, I've said before, these are almost like normals, the way you would draw a normal map, to point out the direction. It just points out the direction that each face is facing. And we're using it in this case to tell the auto tiler where the individual faces are, so that we can take this 3D thing and automatically break it up into all the 2D constituents. That's where I would like the artwork flow to go. But then there's open questions of like, do you need to be able to tell which one's the right edge and which one's the left edge, or the top edge or the bottom edge? Like, do you need to be explicit about that? Or can you just do something like this where you just say, here's the edges, here's all the edges. And it can just intuit it because top is always going to be here, right is always here, left is always here. Like, is this sufficient? Or do I need to get more detailed? And like here, where I use like color coding to describe like the pink here, I'm using the pink to describe the boundary between the top face and the side face. And so I think we need at least this, because you want to be able to distinguish the boundary between the top face and the right face, oops, versus the boundary between the top face and the left face. So even if we redraw like this stuff without outlines, like down here, we need to include more information about it, about the boundaries between them, I think. There's just a question of how much information. I'm leaning towards including more information rather than less. But there's still, if you're doing this sort of thing, there's still the question of the corners, the dots we talked about. These little corner dots. Because like this here is a connector between the side and the bottom. Like this corner piece contains multitude. And so this probably needs to be a different color than the two sides. Like, we probably need to do something more like, let's see what we got. Let's see what we have to work with here. Let's just try some stuff out. So this is the color I'm using here. I could use this for like this part. Oops. Let's get the line tool. Let's make this easy on ourselves. So we've got the left side, and then we could do the right side. And then we could do, oh, hold on. Yeah, this is where it gets confusing. So we almost need to use a different shade for each of these. We need this, but we need to be able to distinguish the corners. Something like this. I don't know. I don't want to think about that right now, to be honest. But I also don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Could probably get away with just doing something like this. There's an open question in my mind whether we even need to include this information about the edges. I think we only need to do it if I start drawing out 3D shapes that are bigger. Like if I took this, I think if I'm doing something like this here, so we do this, and we make this 2 pieces. Like if I define this as a thing, I think we need to know about this piece in the middle. This point at which they overlap. Like I think I need to know about this. Because the thing needs to be able to break this up into its pieces. So I think I do need to include information about the edges. I think this is going to matter for pretty much any artistic thing that I draw that takes up more than a single block, that consists of like compounded blocks. Like this is a 2x1 block. Like it's 2 adjacent blocks. And this can easily be made more complicated by doing something like this, right? Like we could then do the same thing here. Like I need to keep track of this. And now we're back to worrying about the corners again, of which there are a number. Technically the 2 corners are here. Like here and here. But maybe I don't care about this if I'm not drawing a piece that's compound. Maybe if I'm drawing just a single piece like this, I actually don't care about this. I don't care about the outline information. The outline could just be used as a simple way for the system to know when it's reached the edge of something. But we don't actually need that for that purpose either, because we could just, like, this is sufficient. Just having it all be one color. Maybe that's how I need to do this, is I only need to annotate edges if I actually need to stitch pieces together. Maybe it doesn't matter in this case. Like here. Maybe in this case I can just do this and this is sufficient. Maybe we don't need all this information for just a single block. Sorry if I'm kind of scatterbrained today. I am tired, it's Friday, and I'm not really sure what to work on. But I want to stream and I want to get back into the groove. So I think working on this is okay. And this is arguably out of scope. Here's the other thing. How do I communicate that these are all three the same, or these four things, this is the same block with 4 different rotations? How do I communicate that? Do I need a separate layer that communicates how this works? Or do I just need to include all 4 pieces together? Like, how do I tell the system that these are just 4 rotations of the same piece? That's something else I have to think about. Because right now I'm using this color to distinguish between X face, Y face, and Z face. But I also kind of need the system to understand how to handle the rotations. I think it's going to be a little inefficient this way, rather than just hand packing everything like this and having very custom descriptions. So like this is obviously, you know, nicely packed and everything. But it's going to be harder to having to do this manually like this. It's going to be harder to create new assets. Whereas if I can come up with at least a simple thing like, oh, well, you just need like these, like you could do something like this. Like if I wanted to describe a new thing in 3D, if I could do something like this, let's not do it here. Let's do this here. Like if I could just do this, like I just take this and I just put this into one sheet here like this. Then it would be clear that like this is no rotation. This is like 90, 180, 270. And then, yeah. If I can just define this and draw this and just punch this in as like, this is our new 3D object. We could even theoretically do it with a single file and have these each be a separate layer. So this could be layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. We could even do it that way instead of just laying it out XY. Do that. Hex to start. Hey, how's it going? Been a minute. How are you doing? We're kind of talking about art because it's Friday and my mental energy levels are low. But how are you? How have you been? We're talking about how to encode my 3D art in such a way that the autotiler can break it down into the 2D pieces that it needs to become. I don't really like what I've done here. I want to go back. Kate, we have to go back. Here we go. I like leaving the outline here for now. I think I'm going to leave this. I have an easier time looking at this with the outline, even if we eventually don't need it. Like, this is easier for me to look at with the outline. All good. Can you show that reference scene again? The reference scene. You mean like this one? This sort of thing? Yeah. Yeah, my style guide little piece. Yeah, we're thinking about getting rid of the outlines because you'll notice that we're using outlines in only one place. Looks awesome. Thank you. We're running into some issue with my habit of, because this is all flat textured, I started out using outlines to give shape. But I'm running into some problems with it because for an interior surface, it looks pretty cool. But the problem is that if you use outlines for these structural things, it starts to read very poorly once you get to the backdrop of space. So like here's an alternate coloring against a black backdrop. And like you can technically see the outlines because I made them like a lighter gray than black. Like they're not black, they're like one step up from black. They're like this. But it's like, it does not read well. So I think I'm moving away from using outlines for structural pieces because we also don't use outlines for characters or for props. Like the computer screens don't use outlines, the desk consoles don't use outlines, the chairs and the crew members aren't outlined. Like everything's too small to be outlined. Only at the moment, only structural pieces like walls and floors and doors and stuff are outlined. And I'm having second thoughts about that. You see they are hard to see, then you see what I see. But we're working on... The thing I'm having to think through is how you take our 3D pieces here and turn them into 2D. How do you basically, we need to break up. Essentially, when I create a new asset, I want to create a 3D asset like this. And then I want to be able to break it up into its 2D parts. Its Y face, its X face, and its Z face. And to do that, we need to kind of do like a coloring, like a face coloring. And I'm kind of torn between the different ways we can do it. I think I'm going to go with something like this at first. Just a simple, here's the mid section and here's the edges. And not every edge is going to be drawn. Like you'll notice this green edge isn't drawn because they're actually, the orange edge here overrides the green. So if we tessellate this, you'll notice that the orange actually dominates. Like you can't see the green at all. So there's some subtlety to the way we implement this. Hex to start, cool. You just randomly popped in. You think you're following since it's one of LD's. You recall my game about ships in the wind. Hell yeah, I've got a remastered version of that I'm almost ready to put out. Because you're thinking of this. You're thinking of a following wind. My little ship game. This is pretty rough, even for a 48-hour thing. I have a remastered version of it. Here, let me show you. I have to open a different version of Godot. I want to put this up by next weekend. I want to add this. We worked on this over the summer for a couple months after LD, and then I just shelved it and never did anything with it. But yeah, we really escalated this. I added 2 more spells. So there's, in addition to the Gust of Wind, which we redesigned to be much better and much more clear what's happening. We also have Whirlwinds. We have Lightning Strikes. All of them interact with each other, so you can throw a Gust of Wind into a thunderstorm, and both of them get moved by the Whirlwind. There's 4 types of ships now. We recolored a lot. We got the Jess Codes water shader in here. I added a bunch of UI, like the little triangles that show you where ships are coming in. We did a bit of balance testing. Talk of a glow up. Yeah, that's pretty much what we did, is we just glowed it up. I haven't added, it's fundamentally the same thing. Like even the level design is identical. I didn't move anything around really. I might have moved the rocks a little bit to put them in a better position. But yeah, we really didn't change much. There's one thing we added that is really fun that I'm waiting for to pop up because sometimes it takes a little while to pop up. Here it is. I made a sea monster. That just eats little ships. Very pleased with my little sea monster. So yeah, I just need to record some more music. And then fix the mix because the music's way too quiet. But yeah, I want to put this up so that I can point people to it for LD57. I didn't get to do LD56. So I didn't get to do the October Ludum Dare, but I'm very excited that it's back on. because I want to do it. Yeah, the Kraken is getting sleepy. It killed one pirate ship, so good job. And now it's going to sink into the sea. I'm very pleased with what we ended up with there. But yeah, huge glow up. The balance still kind of sucks, and there's still no tutorialization. But the game is supposed to ramp up slowly enough that you can kind of figure it out. But yeah, I want to put this out. I want to put this out soon. But that's awesome that you popped in. Say hi. Are you planning on doing LD57 next weekend? Congrats on improving on the formula and not getting bogged down in scope. We struggle with this a lot. Oh, I struggled with it. I struggled with it hex to start. I thought I was going to make multiple levels, do like a little release of it. I worked on that for about 2 months, and then I realized I just wanted to be done with it. I just wanted to do the little remaster, get it to at least where the vision was for the jam, and then just be done with it. But I so didn't want to do the tutorialization, so that I just I shelved it in like July and only picked it up like a few weeks ago because I was like, oh shit, LD's coming back. If I want to post this, I need to post this like in the next week or two. That's something else I need to do this weekend. I need to record some more music for that game specifically so I can post it. Yeah, hopefully. Awesome. Yeah, we'll see. I was slaughtering some themes before I started streaming today. There's way too many on there. People are fucking clowns with the themes that they submit for the first round. You're doing your own music? Yeah, I am doing my own music. That was all physically recorded. That was just some mandolin tracks I recorded. I'm gonna just add a second instrument. I think I'm just gonna add like an accompanying instrument just to give it a little more depth, make it a little more stereo. And I have to remix it because I mixed the music so quietly in Audacity. I need to boost that. I need to make it louder. So yeah, I need to work on the music a little more. I was hoping to get some experience in digital audio workstations before my next jam, so I didn't have to do physical music again, and that didn't happen. So I'll probably be recording my own music again, like physically, which kind of limits what I can do, and it kind of provides a direction. It makes me usually want to do something kind of analog or low tech in terms of like that's how I ended up with the sailing game, because I was like, well, what kind of music could I record? And I'd be like, well, I could record little stringed music. And that made me think of sea shanties, and that made me think of ships, and then summoning was the theme. So I was like, all right, what if we summoned some wind? And people were like, that's not summoning. And I'm like, all right, I'm sorry I didn't make a demon summoning game. You've bounced off a couple DAWs. You're an amateur though. Oh, I'm also very amateur in terms of music. There's one DAW you didn't bounce off because it's so simple. Ooh, what's that? I've been looking at a couple. I'd have to look them up to remember what they are. I'm looking at... I want to try Bespoke, which is a weird one, and Ardor, but Ardor. It's a hard word. Those both are kind of complicated, so I would definitely be interested in trying something simple. One-bit dragon. Very easy to use music creation software. Okay. Doodle some shapes on the piano roll and the dragon will do its thing. What does that mean? You don't need to know music in order to make something that sounds good. 223 instruments and 275 drum samples. You can make a ton of music across a bunch of genres without having to get outside One-Bit Dragon. Oh, this sounds fun. It's only 30 bucks. Oh, and it comes with a Steam key. Okay. I might try this. Cool. This looks good. Let me bookmark this. I'm gonna add DAW to this. It's very easy to start with. You want to try FL Studio. You struggle to actually doing anything with it. Can you link to it in the Discord? Yeah, I will do that. I don't know if Hex to Start is in the Discord, but I'll post it in the resources. Cool. Awesome. Thanks for the recommendation. In this 1-bit thing, you can just start drafting things off the bat. Nice. That's kind of why I wanted to try with Bespoke. Bespoke is like, it's kind of cool. It's like a visual shader kind of layout. So it's like a modular synth layout, and you can just start building things and adding things. But I think it's more for sound experimentation and less for like recording finished tracks. So I think maybe I'll have more fun with that for like when I'm generating like ambient soundtrack stuff. And then I can mix it together in like a Fmod. But I don't think it's like appropriate for like recording finished tracks to play. I think it would be more appropriate for like experimental and ambient sound stuff. But I do want to try Bespoke for that purpose. All right, so this is still an outline. So there's really no reason for me to draw this out right now. Part of the reason I have the outline is because right now in the auto tiler, it really helps. Like, it's very helpful to have the outlines in the auto tiler because it makes it very clear. Like, you can see the edges of different surfaces. So I feel like we're not going to go away from that soon until I've started adding textures. So I think we're going to stick with this for now. But I think we need to move away from it sooner than later. I do need to fix stuff about what I'm saying here about the lack of dots. The corner piece stuff that we were talking about, like the weird corner aberrations that we're getting. We need to work on. But that's different. I think we need to figure out a lighting model before I can get rid of the outlines. Can you link it? Oh yeah, sorry I didn't link it. Bespoke synth. I think that's it. Gotta put your kid to sleep. Good luck with the outline challenges. Thanks, Hex to Start. Good to see you. Have a great rest of your day. Yeah, the thing with me about Bespoke that I think I might not actually like is I actually don't like visual shaders. Like, I don't like building things out this way. Like whenever I have a choice between using like a visual script or a visual shader thing, I like don't do it. I like just choose the regular. I just choose the regular code, the handwritten code stuff. So I actually don't know if I'm gonna like Bespoke, but I don't know. I think it's more for sound creation than it is for music creation. So, like I said, maybe it'd be good for sound effects. I really want to dig way more into that. Rhiannon, you've got to run. Have fun with taxes. Oh yeah, taxes and recording music, apparently. That's also what I need to do. Record some octave mandolin tracks for A Following Wind remastered. But yeah, thank you, Rhiannon. I hope you have a good weekend too. All right, we need something else to work on. I'm kind of done thinking about outlines for the moment. We do need to start thinking about how we're going to get these complex shapes into the palette. So I guess I can't be done thinking about this. I don't think I have the brain power to think about it right now. But we need to figure out how to get to this point where I can just add 3D shapes to the system. That needs to be part of the tool, essentially. Or at the moment, it needs to at least be an offline tool that I can use to... I can feed it like a sprite. What I could do is I can use... what are they called? There's this thing. What is it called? It's like a splice in A-Sprite. So you can use a thing to encode data into a section of a canvas. And someone explained it to me, and I thought I'd set it up, and I've done it a couple times. But now I'm not, yeah, what is it called? Where is it? How do I get access to it? What is it? It's like Shift S or something like that. No, that's Snap. Control S? No, that's Save. I don't remember what it was, but I think it's called splicing. And so I could basically do that by, I could basically draw out these 3 directions or 4 directions, and I could basically splice out the regions and describe the regions of the sprite. So I could say like this region is 90 degrees, this region is like 180 degrees or whatever. And then I get a JSON file from that when I export the sprite, and I can use that JSON file to read out the details. It could tell me like, here's the name of the object. Here's the dimensions of each splice. Here are the angles for each splice. Like, I could do that and encode some data in. That way I can pass in this information. And then I could have a system that builds the actual tile atlas out of that by breaking it up into its different faces. And that's where this like normal information would come in handy, especially when things overlap. So I'd say like this is the Y face, but it doesn't include the orange, it's just the green. So these areas that overlap are where it gets complicated. Sorry, I have something in my eye. Besides my eye and my finger. There was a third thing in my eye, and it's not pleasant. All right. Maybe these black outlines that we're using right now are just a description of these outlines. They're equivalent of like the edge of the texture. And including this texture edge information is really helpful because or the hard edge information is really helpful, so that if I do something like this, like if I take this and I make an object that consists of multiple parts, I can basically do this. And the system can tell. Or can it? It's a little tricky. I need to think more about this. It's kind of like the way 3D objects get broken up by like their UVs. But it's a little different than that. I need to think more about this. I know I just said that. Part of the reason is my brain has stopped working. Because it's Friday and I'm very tired. All right, let's look at the code. See if there's any other low-hanging fruit we could like sort out in the next few minutes, but I'm tempted to wrap up early. Partly because everyone else seems to have dipped, and partly because I'm really tired. I want to not draw it in this case. How do I do that? All right, yeah, let's see if we can do that one thing, which is like, I don't want to draw it if it's over, like this white outline thing that's following me around. I want to draw it in this case. And I want to draw it in this case. But I don't want to draw it in like this case, I don't think. Maybe I do. Maybe it's helpful. Maybe it's not, though. Yeah, maybe it is helpful, because it lets you know what layer you're on a little bit. A little bit. It doesn't let you know that much. Yeah, there's still... we still need a solution for, like, understanding where you are in a vacuum. Maybe we do need a wider grid. Like a grid that kind of... Maybe we need a wider grid that overlaps a little bit with the surrounding space. Because right now it's just one tile. We just draw out an outline around one tile. But that's a little hard to like if I'm doing this, where am I? Like if I've got this casting down, I can tell that I'm a level above this lower surface. But if I'm out here all of a sudden, I don't know where I am anymore. I'm just kind of in the void. I am not sure how I want to deal with that. That's something to think about. How to make it obvious where we are in 3D space when there isn't anything around to like make it clear where you are relatively. I don't know. But that's the question. What if I turn this back on? If I turn the elastic boundary thing back on here? What does this do for us? This kind of helps, actually. Maybe this helps. So if I'm here, and I start drawing out here, this actually kind of helps. Being able to see the used rect. Because now if I exceed the area we've actually built on so far, you get this. the boundaries reach out and show me where we've drawn. Yeah, this actually might be sufficient for now. Yeah. I think I kind of like this. It's something we already have, and it helps. It helps you figure out, orient yourself in 3D space. Can you change? Can you have one go internally too? Oh, it does. Not 100% sure what you mean by that. But there's basically two different kinds of outlines. There's this one is the used rect. So this is basically, used rect is the wrong word. It's more like the boundaries of the overall composition, like the whole, like everything we've drawn. And then there also is still this mouse over little one that tells us where we're hovering above. Like your highlighted guide. Yeah, it's like the cursor guide. I think the combination of this is sufficient for now. Because this also helps you figure out where you are on the layer because it lets you connect it to the higher up layers. Yeah, okay, I think this is good. I think we're pleased with this. I think we're relatively pleased with this. Cool. I think the combination provides a pretty decent feeling of where you are. Yeah, having the verticality, having the series of layers. I still need to fix the selection one. The 3D selection one, I don't like. Not sure how we're going to do that, how we're going to deal with that, but... Cool. All right, well, I'm pleased with that. I think that's going to be sufficient. Our pre-roll is almost out, so I think I'm going to wrap it up a little early today. We've only really been doing 2-hour streams this week, which is lower than I want. I want to work my way back up to 3 hours. I'm just so tired. So... yeah, I think I'm gonna cue up the outro here. Feels like some SnowRunner music we got going. Ended on a high note. I know. What are the odds that something we already made was exactly what we needed? What are the odds of that? Thanks, Smooth in a second. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I love when something we've already made is the solution we need. Thanks, Hex to Start, Rhiannon Journey, Matthew Sparks, Heart-Coded. Thank you again for the sub. Thanks everyone for hanging out, lurking, talking, whatever. Appreciate you all. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. I mean, it's just getting started here. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye. No stream tomorrow.
Maximum what?
Someone's got to do taxes. Maximum.